And now we have planned to have a short discussion panel. So I'd like to invite to this discussion panel founders of e-Governance Academy, Ivar Tallo, Linnar Viik, who is working as a professor in Estonian ICT College, and for Estonians, I don't need to tell you who is Linnar Viik, but he's one of our e-government cornerstones. And Mr. Sild from BCS. Also, please take a seat. Please, please, please. And also, I'd like to invite Mrs. Leitner from Austrian government. And she has been our board member for a long time and has assisting us to develop e-Governance Academy. And also I'd like to introduce you Mr. Pung, Director General of External Economical and Development Cooperation Department. And in this point, I really like to thank our Ministry of Foreign Affairs and their activities around. Please be seated. About the cooperation with e-Governance Academy to develop foreign development assistance projects, because I think it has been mutual cooperation, but you can discuss about it. Ivar will lead the discussion. You have 25 minutes, so please.
Thank you, Hannes. And so without, well, you got already introduced pretty well. Okay, let me tell you that Linnar is one of these kind of very rare people that usually there is this proverb that no prophet is famous in his own country, but Linnar is famous not only in Estonia, not only abroad, but rather in Estonia. But he has extensively worked with other countries as well, and I know how hard it is. I've been also quite many countries. But here we are really, we wanted this panel to be kind of a chance for us to reflect. I mean, we actually thought it out in a way and put it in the rails. The question is very straightforward to you, Linnar. What makes some countries succeed and some countries, well, lag behind in this e-governance topic?
Thank you, and well, congratulations to everybody on this level of achievement for the e-Governance Academy, as well as the further visions for the future, which we have been laying out during the recent month, and which I believe strongly will escalate also e-Governance Academy into the version 2.0 or new level. Regarding the success stories and regarding the implementation of information society in different countries, I have witnessed myself a couple of things. First of all, the information technology and internet, it is the same actually everywhere. It is exactly the same protocol and the same operating system and the same core architecture everywhere. However, when you take a look on the local level, the way how it is implemented and the way how it is also prioritized in different spheres is very different in different countries. So there is no universal application model and implementation model for the IT. Every country has its own roadmap, and that roadmap is based actually on the present situation. The social, cultural, political, and economical issues which surround and which are dominant in the country are actually the drivers of the information society, not technology. So it's never been the technology project or technology transfer or technology implementation project. And this is, I think, what we learned very quickly. You need to understand the local circumstances, the demand, and also the way how the priorities are set in particular country. Is it driven by campaigning? Is it driven by a true aspiration? And when I put the division in between really a long-term sustainable success e-government and failures, not in developing countries at all only, but also when we look around to United States, to UK, to Germany, to OECD members, to the broad international collaboration, we see that when the projects are driven by campaigns and not based on established fundamentals, the core access architecture, security architecture, interoperability architecture, then the projects also fail. When it's based on building up the long-term, not being based on campaigning, but long-term strategy towards having a core architecture, really again, the same access infrastructure, telecommunication markets that really functions, not looks like it's functioning, but really functions when there is also an established standards and established equal opportunities to play on the IT market for all the participants, then we see also sustainable growth in the information society. Not campaigning, but pragmatical development starting from the fundamentals.
Thank you, Linnar. Now we'll do this in a following order. I'll give a word for short statements to us, other people here as well, and then we'll try to get some interactivity, because I mean that was what President wanted to do in the first place, but not all good intention comes through. In e-Governance Academy, in the conferences that we have organized, we always try actually to sort of be on the same level. If we sit up a little bit more here, it is just to be seen and to communicate better. But now I have a privilege to give the floor to another founding member who contributed his hard-earned cash, actually, like we did, to establish e-Governance Academy Foundation, because it was supported by these other institutions I'm going to talk a bit later, but it was created by us. So, Sild, please.
I would like to relate also to what Linnar mentioned about the local focus and influence. And I think this is also the success factor that has made e-Governance Academy successful also. You have been influential, and we have been influential and successful also in Estonia. And I recall my clear thoughts and wishes when we were establishing and telling about the idea, how useful it could be. And being also from the background of IT training and ICT management, we were struggling getting through to the politicians, to the ministers, to the administration leaders, to the real customers, to get them involved. And the clear hands-on idea was, if we go out to the world, we learn ourselves how to do it. But the other thing is, we'll have influential politicians, parliament members, government members, groups here to train. And who will train them? Our politicians, our administration leaders, and doing that, they have to sell these ideas first to themselves. And really, also, already during the first year, we saw things starting happening. So, training the parliament members, giving speeches, describing our systems. After that, the same people thought that now we should change and add this and that. So in that sense, Academy has been very successful, and it's all about mindset, positive mindset, and well enough knowledge about the subject of all stakeholders, and here is the importance of the scientific definition of the term stakeholders, and it's anybody who can make the project fail. So in that sense, this positive mindset, and really the third thing which is behind all of that is trust. Trust in your country, trust in politicians, trust in the civil society, trust in technology. And the windows of opportunity of starting such projects are so narrow. So we must build the mindset and the knowledge and the trust before that also, already. And if that is ready, then if this opportunity comes, all the stakeholders together can make something happen. And it has happened a lot.
Yes, indeed, it has happened a lot. And now I have privilege to give the floor to Christine Leitner, and she is the person with the power to hire and fire Arvo and me. She is a member of our supervisory board, but she is also a very long time connoisseur of all e-governance issues. She is probably most well known because of these excellence awards that you were running. How many years? Well, in 10 years, yes. So, and now you are in the Austrian federal government employee, but previously working from European Institute of Public Administration. So, Christine, what makes some countries to produce good projects? Why Estonia hasn't been really given all these awards as Moldova has?
First of all, Ivar, because I was managing the program and I wasn't deciding, that was the jury, to give you the bureaucratic answer. But this was precisely my point when I saw the topic here. I have a bit of developed a critical view on doing better and doing best through these award schemes that I've been managing for 10 years, and I've also been involved in various national award schemes. First of all, I think it was Linnar, you were mentioning that what drives, the government agenda, and it's the campaigning, and these initiatives might be basically misleading, misguiding governments to be the best, to be on the top of the list in the benchmarkings in the awards. So that is one thing. Also, you've mentioned it before in your excellent presentations, and I'm very proud to see what has happened over the years with EGA. When I saw the map, on the screen, you could see the influence and how, even without the awards, Ivar, you were finalists but not award winners, you would spread all over the world. So my point here is success. What does it mean? You mentioned impact, how to measure it. So these exercises might be counterproductive. Yeah? You've been mentioning anecdotes in terms of impact and success. I remember, and you might, Arvo, remember the Portuguese hunter's license project that won the awards for European government in 2009 in the category efficiency and effectiveness. And it actually was, because it was an innovative channel of providing hunter's licenses through ATMs. High usage, transaction costs were cut enormously, and lots of people were available who were dealing with the paper processes to other things. Now, we had a political issue here, because the neighboring countries left the exhibition stand finalists as well, because they said, look, the European Commission is awarding a country that kills our birds. Now, the point I'm trying to make here is we were awarding the innovativeness and efficiency of this channel and the use of technology, and we had a lengthy discussion on the political implication, and I think this is one of the things that you did right. Yeah? The vision, the strategic orientation that you have had from the outset. Yeah? Another thing that comes to my mind, and I don't want to badmouth any country here, but I recently moved back to the Austrian public administration, and you know that Austria ranks quite high in the European benchmarks, and also won European government awards 2 times again, I would like to emphasize I wasn't in charge of deciding, but to see from the inside how these e-government applications make the life of a civil servant difficult in the sense that there is lack of usability. And now, again, we're going back to policy choices. The pressure on budgets, the budget cuts, the cost-effectiveness argument works against you because you will have to live with outdated systems that had probably a very much digitization focus from the old days. So again, this capacity to innovate processes, the willingness to change, the willingness to innovate, to modernize is very much culturally biased, and you've mentioned that before. And I think, again, here I can see why Estonia where it is today, and why everybody wants to follow it and wants to learn, is because there is this capacity to innovate, there is the capacity for change, there is the pragmatic approach to doing things and not to conceptualize. Yeah? And there are, in terms of innovation capacity, the people, the creativity, and the framework conditions probably. And that is one thing that I really appreciate very much, is the approach to learning what we have seen. It's a two-way street. It's not just because I want to sell that I'm best. It's not just to sell that I have the best approach. This is, as you were saying, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But this is a very important point I think we have to all appreciate and learn from.
Thank you, Christine, for the nice words and wise words on this matter. Now, finally, I would like to give a floor here to Mr. Pung, and he's the Director General of the External Economic and Development Cooperation Department in the Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And before the coffee break, we heard from Estonian Ministry of Economy and Communication, and the other player in Estonia that has supported us, and we have a very long time cooperation, and I think I hope that we are going to continue it, is with Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So what is your view? I mean, you are supporting these things, you are choosing countries which to send us to also nowadays. So how do you figure, how are these things going?
Thank you very much, Ivar, and thank you for e-Governance Academy for all the cooperation during those 10 years probably. So we can all probably agree that implementation of principles of e-governance and using ICT in countries can promote economic development and good governance in those countries and contribute to democracy and civil society. So this is a reason why Estonia has chosen ICT and e-governance, one of his strategic priorities in development cooperation. We have been doing that already for 10 years now, and ICT and promotion of e-governments has been linked directly or indirectly to almost all our projects, and very often e-Governance Academy has been playing an important role in that. If we are talking about countries, as you probably know, our development cooperation focuses on 7 countries. Those are EU Eastern Partnership countries and Afghanistan, but actually scope of our interest in promoting e-governance has been much wider than that. If I'm not mistaken, you have been approached by more than 60 different countries, delegations, visits, study visits, trainings, you name it. So we are trying to be as active as possible in also not all priority countries, but in all other countries. And I would say with great success. I mean, we together managed to increase visibility of Estonia considerably. I mean, image of Estonia as successful IT country is certainly there. It hopefully helps our companies to be more active in those markets and give them possibilities to I don't know, to win tenders or to participate in some other kind of entrepreneurship activities. When we are talking about concrete project results, I would say the picture is somewhat mixed or different. We have very successful projects, but we have projects where interest was only, I don't know, for a month or 2 months, and then after that nothing happens. So, well, I fully agree with Linnar and the reasons why some countries are more active and more successful in establishing of e-governance. But from our point of view, the key is interest and strategic commitment of partner countries as high as possible political level. So if there is interest and if there is some funds involved from partner countries, then probably probability of a successful project is much higher. One of our most successful cooperation projects has been Moldova. We have been really been successful there, and I understood that there is some degree of thanks from Moldovan government as well. Cooperation of Tunisia has been somewhat shorter, but hopefully this project will turn into long-term project as well. So from our point of view, yes, I mean the involvement of government is very, very important. Technology transfer is minor difficulty. Thank you.
Thank you. And I didn't want to put the words to the mouth of the other presenters, so let me tell also why I think some countries succeed more than others. And I think we've been teaching or preaching in e-governance academy, and now it is recognized around by all these international organizations who say that the political commitment is the key. But actually, political commitment is not enough, and I agree with that. There have to be some other steps. I think that if I'm, from my perspective, I'm thinking of Moldova, if I'm thinking of Rwanda, for example, where I remember it was, in 2004, I think I was teaching Rwandan ministers. It was a SIDA, the Swedish International Development Agency's project, and I was explaining why governments can and should engage into the ICTs. And a couple of years later, I heard the same minister speaking how Rwanda is going to aspire to become Estonia of Africa. And what I now know from them, they have actually managed to pretty much to do so. And I'm just sorry that with our limited resources, we didn't manage to bring somebody here this time from Rwanda. But I think it is a key, really, in that sense, is drive to succeed. The same way as with people. I mean, there are all the other important elements, but it's not the wealth level. And Estonia is the first good example. I mean, when we started, the money was very small. And if you think of the big countries, what Mr. President was making, well, a little bit of jokes from Great Britain. I mean, they have identified big problems with ICT and opportunities, and they throw money at these problems, but the problems don't go away. If there is no drive to succeed, somehow they say, okay, we have enough money, then we'll reformulate the problem and try to get rid of it that way. So it is this kind of willingness to go forward, and I'm very, very proud of Moldova, what they are doing, having been there also, and trying to tell how to start moving, and now seeing that you have moved faster than I even dare to hope. But I think now I would like to give also the opportunity if somebody from the audience would like to either throw an idea, have a question to someone, react to this, because we have 5 minutes to that. So is there somebody willing to say why countries succeed and some not so much?
Comments? Yes, here. Patrick? Yes.
I don't think I have a comment exactly on why countries succeed, but when I listen to this now, I listen to all of these cases and I see sort of all of this very inspiring development going on, I start to sense the emergence of a platform here, that there is some kind of a common infrastructure that could potentially facilitate governments throughout the world to speed up the development, and some kind of a new role. It would be interesting to hear your comment on that kind of a development. So go beyond the learning into more of a platform creation and building the learning on that platform of infrastructure and sort of partly ready-made solutions.
Yes, if there are any other comments, we take some comments and then we can continue. Yes, please. Yes, please. Elizabeth.
We've had such a wonderful opportunity this morning to hear about countries that have really embraced the messages that you're bringing about e-governance. Without perhaps mentioning certain country names, because that might be a bit rude, what are signs that you see sometimes? I'm sure you've seen a few signs that seem a bit disappointing, where you fear that this message is going to somehow meet a roadblock and might actually hold a country back from being one of these succeeders in the space of e-governance from the point of view of the Academy.
Any other comments, please? Yes, please. Svetko.
Dejan Cvetković, Regional Technology Officer for Microsoft in Central and East Europe. I would like actually to make a comment. As individuals, we quite often tend to live in our comfort zones because we feel very well there. And that translates that we quite often oppose to changes. And in the democratic environment, such as the government is, that fear or a push against the change is always quite strong. And it happens behind the scenes. So at least from my experience, the fear and the push against the changes is the major obstacle and the major reason why a lot of e-government initiatives really fail. So again, I will speak from my experience. In order to have a successful, I would call it e-government framework execution, you need a strong executive support from the top level government official. And this is what we see here in Estonia. This is what we see, for instance, in UK. This is what we see in Moldova, right? Because without a strong and clear, crisp and clear message, decision from the elected official, a lot of civil servants would oppose the change. Thanks.
Thanks. Any other comments? Okay. Can we get reflections?
Yes. Well, first, now I'll take a liberty since I have the mic. Very quick reflections. As to the new platform, I would call all of you to join e-Governance Academy, helping to define what we can do. As I said, I think one of the things that has become clear already is that we are faced with, or we are living actually in this new reality. And it is just that we are still trying to straitjacket this new reality into the traditional governance ideas, talking still about representative democracy when we could do something else, talking about service delivery instead of maybe making services ourselves, etc. So that would be the first reaction to the signs. It's a very good question. And no, I'm not going to name names. Yes, there are signs, but generally, when you see what you see, when we kind of become careful, is when these top leaders who say we want it, then turn to their security people and say, we have these security concerns, and these are so prevalent we can't go on with transparency, for example. I think what President was underlying the role of transparency. It is paramount. If the countries fail on this test, it's not going to work really. And it is not only the countries that people start to think immediately. Look at in the heart of Europe. I mean, major European countries have different privacy regimes, and their privacy regimes prevent really moving forward as fast. And at the same time, people in these countries, let's say Germany, I'm not mincing words, okay, they are all on Facebook. They are sharing all their details. They don't care about privacy. And then in government, everybody is caring about privacy and can't join things. And finally, there was a question of fear. I think that is really good. I mean, we are actually, and we see it from our research, what we have done, people, we are much more conservative than even the progressive of us think we are. But you want to, Christine?
Yeah, I'd like to pick up on the first point, first question about the global infrastructure that's developing from the exchange of experience and transfer. And we had a parallel process, if you will, at the European level, in the European Union itself, yeah, with the good practice exchange starting in 2000, and now we're building up those so-called large-scale pilots on setting up the cross-border infrastructure in Europe. Now we have an advantage that we have at least, and you have mentioned it, bits and pieces of legislation that are common, but then again we have diversity. You mentioned the privacy regulations. Now, what does that mean on the global level? Yeah? I think the time might be now to start, but we need the governance level for that. What? Thank you.
Two very short reflections. Yes, at E-Governance Academy we also recognize and see an increasing demand, internationally increasing demand for the so-called platform establishment, whether it would be a middleware type of service layers, architecture. Anyway, there is a demand for that. However, we need to keep in mind again that technology has never been in those countries a key issue, the application of technology, but really what are we going to do with it? And that brings to the other side, which was mentioned, the kind of fear of change. Application of any technology throughout the history has been always changing also the mental modem, the governance, the core of the business or the process itself. And when we apply information technology to a lousy public administration, it just amplifies the nonsense, makes things more messier, and creates no value but wastes money invested to IT. So most of the countries have started to recognize now that in order to make sense with IT investment, you really need to think first, is that the part of the broader reform we are going through right now? Is the fact that we put computers to the classroom going to be also part of the broader change in overall business of education? Is the fact that we connect doctors and patients over internet going really to be the corner of the aspirations of our health reform? Or is that just amplification of the systems of the 19th century which make no sense to anybody? And that is also part of fear of change, that you fake of making an e-government which is just a facade of the look-alike wishes of the public administration, which actually behind that internet facade still carries papers from one corner to another and puts the stamps on that.
Yes, we can develop a technology platform, a know-how platform, even sort of a legal platform. But really, where the essence is, it's high politics, and this matters. And this changes, it might change the whole platform or the implementation or make it worth or not. And that's why e-Governance Academy can never assure of the projects being successful. It depends on the country. It depends totally on Moldova, on the political situation there and how to influence that. That's the issue. That's why also the local government projects have been much more successful, because there it's more touchable.
So let's keep the fingers crossed that the political situation in all these countries will be benevolent towards e-governance development. And hereby, I think, Christine, did you want to have the final word after all? She's a member of some supervisory board.
I was going to respond to Linnar, because now I'm back in the public administration. I think this is a very important point, and it boils down to what EGA and Estonia, in my opinion, has done right. You mentioned the lousy public administration, but I mentioned, pardon my French now, the lousy technology that makes it even worse and puts another dimension to inefficiency in public administration. So the usability and the actual needs of the individuals working in these public administrations need to be taken into account. And I think we need to encourage those people who want to change from inside, not only from the top. Because the majority, again, this is culturally biased, will only do it if they're imposed to do that. But then they will find ways to work around, and then we'll have a situation which is worse than the one that you have been describing. So we're ending up in e-Kafka instead of Kafka kind of situation. I'm not sure, Ivar, if this is the finale that you were expecting me to say, but I just would like to emphasize that I'm very proud to see what EGA, what Estonia has been doing in 20 years, in 10 years for EGA, and I'm really hoping that we can continue to spread the knowledge and to exploit the gold mine that you're sitting on. That's the experience that you've been collecting over the 10 years. This is my wish for the next 10 years.
Thank you, Christine. And yes, let's hope all together that we leave Kafka with F and not with E. So the word is back to Hannes.
Thank you very much. Applaud. Thank you very much for very interesting views. Thank you. And now it's time for the lunch. The lunch is served